This is the cutting edge on RFM Day over there next Wednesday. Starting out with some soukous and some African music that are trending in Africa now. Why the people them, for really stand up still with all the things that we are going, all who can stand up, just go and stand up. Because it's not easy to stand up out there right now. Trust me, man. You're strong, you have to stand up. Veins. Yeah, man, we are carry the music up there and carry the music round there, African style. Yes. So we have a little program line up for you. We want you listening attentively to what we have to offer. Yes, we're going forward to the university, the cutting edge university, where we try to bring to your attention different aspects of what history is all about and how it relates to African people. Well, to them say this is Heritage Month. Heritage Month. And because it's Heritage Month, we want to play some situations that Africans find themselves in that I don't know if it's true with us, just human, why we find ourselves in these predicaments, or it's just, we just soft. We just make people take advantage of it all the while, especially the Arabs and the Europeans take advantage of it. And the mark is so indelible in our consciousness that we don't even realize we have played out a designed, orchestrated system that is designed to make us feel down and out, to make us feel that we don't have no self-worth and no value. We recognize what took place hundreds of years ago. A whole heap of people don't want to recognize and admit that a lot of the things that taking place right now, whether in Africa or anywhere African people find themselves, a lot of things that is taking place now is because of what took place earlier on in history. And how our demise rise up and next people and the labor, the blood, the sweat and the tears of our people allow our next set of people to rise up and legitimize them cruelty and wickedness to the point now where we seem to be so blissfully ignorant that we just accept what is taking place as reality when it's another man's reality and it's an illusion that we live in. African people are living an illusion. And that illusion is created by their lack of information and understanding of how cultures divert from our consciousness and our awareness of ourselves. We lose that integrity that was able to carry us to this point, because really and truly the logic is that African people wasn't supposed to die still with all the things them do to African people. We're not supposed to die. But we survive. We survived the watery grave of the Atlantic Ocean. We survived the Arab invasion of Africa. We survived all the disease and the drought and the famine and the pestilence and everything. We survived them crucifixion that now we say the tan become a crown. But we survive all of them things, so we're not supposed to die now. But guess what now? A whole heap of we are going like say, It's just how we're supposed to there. And don't realize it's out of the cruelty and the wickedness of the Europeans and the Arab invasion. Why we there so now? And we now recognize it that it's not just how we're supposed to there. And we have to wake up to that. We can't live a next man reality. We can't define things according to the logics of the invaders and the enslavers. We have to return to our ancestral legacy and what we is able to create right now for ourselves. And most of we live in an illusion. We are worship a God where we'll never know. All we can do is read about this God in a Bible. And this Jesus we're going to come back and save African people from the same oppression where these people put in. My little brethren says that say, white man, God can't save you from white man oppression. And that's the truth. And we have to realize how we find ourselves embedded in that. Like the man that talk about brainwash, like your brain dirty. And I wash your brains and wash out all the Africanness outside. But we not give up. Marcus Garvey tell me, Africa for Africans, those at home and those abroad. And all the people them, we never have nothing good to say about Africa. Watch and see where we go on. Because the white people and China people are run go Africa, you know. And then if them can't run go Africa, then can run come over here up and way. So what we are going to do? What we are going to do when we see we little African sisters, them are walk around with China baby in them hand? And don't even know if to talk China language. And the black man, them are going to stand up there and watch that happen. And maybe go down upon them there and pray and beg God for forgiveness. Which God? No, God not going to save you from no hurricane. The rain fall upon the one man house up over there, so it fall upon the next man same way. The promoter keep him sure him no want the rain to fall, but the farmer want the rain fall. The farmer want rain fall and him no get no rain, but the promoter get the sunshine. So we don't know. An illusion we are living in, and I think it's a reality. And them have been the illusion for hundreds of years. And we not going on 1,000 of years with nobody, you know. No. So, them say Heritage Month, but we don't find heritage up to now. African people are still living in the illusion of European ideas, European standard. That people that do some things now way out of them league. And I go and see the reality that about them different. Or you cannot different than the whole of now where you tear up jeans same way. That's not different. The tear might different. One may tear up underneath your caca hole and one may tear up underneath your whatsoever hole. But really and truly, at the same tear and at the same dirty jeans where you never used to wear when your grandmother did I tell you, say, don't wear them clothes out the road. And you put on the dirty clothes now, two white people put it in a glass case and show you on Fifth Avenue in New York. And you wear it now like say, you's Tapanaris. Oh, the hell black people have ass ear I wear. Ass ear or Indian ear. Where the Indian they cut off them ear because they want some money and give it to black people for wear that Chinaman can knit it and crush it and send it back, come give it. And now we are pad up with breasts. We don't like the breasts so God give it. Pad up with bottom. We don't like the breasts so the bottom where God give it. We are pluck out with eyelash. We don't want the eyelash where God give. You take off your ear and put an ass here, you know, like God here. Everything, you go to bed with a nice looking woman and when you wake up in the middle of the night and see her, you wonder if a child you go to bed with. This is the cutting edge on IRFM.
Welcome to Jamaican Roots and Culture. I'm Pat Clark. October is a month of cultural significance in Jamaica for many reasons. It is a month in which we celebrate our national heritage. Many important historic events occurred in Jamaica in the month of October. Reggae music's stepping razor, Peter Tosh, was born in this month. The Morant Bay Rebellion occurred in October, Symbolic of our heritage and history, Jamaica's culture was fashioned around the mixture and influence of our many peoples. Our motto, "Out of many, one people," perhaps provides a perfect definition and insight into our culture. We boast a rich blend of African, European, Chinese, Indian, and some Middle Eastern cultures. Of course, the early Taino settlers played a pivotal role in our culture as well. Many of our foods today, for example, are prepared similar to the way it was prepared by the early Taino settlers. The concept of jerk, as well as cassava preparations, were inherited from this friendly tribe that inhabited Jamaica prior to the arrival of Columbus. The name Jamaica came directly from the Tainos, who called the island Jamaica, meaning the land of wood and water. The areas of dance, music, folklore, religion, and language have benefited tremendously from the amalgamation of our cultures. The Jamaican Cultural Development Commission organizes the cultural activities of the island. They also host several yearly competitions in the arts. During our annual independence celebrations, displays and exhibitions in these areas form part of it. The Jamaican art movement goes back to the early part of the century. Today, many Jamaican artists are internationally acclaimed. Among these are the late Edna Manley, who emerged as a visionary mother of art in Jamaica. We cannot speak objectively of Jamaica's culture, however, without mentioning famous names such as Louise Bennett, Basil Walters, Cecil Baugh, Robert Nesta Marley, Usain Bolt, and Rex Nettleford, all of whom have made significant impact on the Jamaican culture. There's no doubt that one of the best known aspects of our culture is the music. Why is it so prolific? Come with me for a poetic depiction of the Jamaican music, its history, and how it all began. It is the heartbeat of our people, the rhythm of our land. Our music is our culture. Here is how it all began. The drums came out of Africa with a language of their own. The flutes and fifes from Europe, fit for kings upon their thrones. Through many strifes and conflicts, the cultures quickly merged. For pleasant entertainment, peasants and gentry would converge to see the dancing women doing the quadrille, musicians in high spirits giving everyone a thrill. The instruments transitioned with the passage of Father Time. Quadrille transformed to mento, the jolly boys' music of modern times. With the coming of independence on the blessed August morn, a new nation emerged and another musical form was born. The scatterlights struck up the band and ska became the craze. The energetic music had your dancing feet amazed. As forward on Jamaicans marched, everyone was getting ready. The time had come for our people to stand firm and do the rock steady. Reggae was rebel music. Bob Marley sang Natty Dread. Get up and stand up for your rights. Don't let the system get on top of your head. A music with a message urging us all to unite, to defend one another, to stand up and live right. One love, one heart. Let's get together, dance to reggae music, and feel all right. And now to end the Jamaican roots and culture, here's our famous quotation from the Black diaspora. You never miss the water till the well run dry. The words of Robert Nesta Marley. For Jamaican Roots and Culture, I'm Pat Clark.
Insight into heritage as we celebrate this month as Heritage Month. We see we're going at the parliament yesterday first, where there was having them was voting to make our heroes, national heroes, exonerated from their criminal records, where Marcus Garvey, Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, George William Garden, Taki, even though not a national hero yet, but we can see where they will make him a national hero. But in the house yesterday, they without any opposition to the idea that these people who fought for our liberation and freedom and was listed by the colonial masters as criminals, we who come in this time must recognize and must move those records, because there's other things that need to be removed too, you know. Yeah, there's other things that need to be removed to what those people in that same house uphold. But the step right now is that the criminal records of these people and those those who associated with them has been lawfully legitimized, lawfully removed from the books. That Marcus Garvey, Paul Bogle, Sam Sharp, William Garden, and Taki is no longer in the books as criminals because they were fighting for their freedom, and all the people them that associated with them, including the woman who threw the first stone in a Morant Bay. She is now, and she will be recognized in the annals of history, because when we see that as this rewriting the history, that is what we see. That move yesterday in Parliament was to rewrite history. Because there's enough things, enough things need to be rewritten that we as African people can come out of this illusion that we find ourselves in now. The illusion. That's why we can't come off of this idea that a man who is not a citizen of Jamaica because of some British law that govern the English-speaking Caribbean. In other words, Cameron can come here and spend 1 year and run in an election. You didn't know that, Sanjay? You man know that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. A Commonwealth citizen. A Commonwealth citizen from any Commonwealth country. If you're in Jamaica for over a year and you're over 21, you are legitimately able to hold office in government. That is what the Commonwealth is all about. So, if Prince Philip come here and spend 1 year, and him is over 21, and him decides I'm going to run in as representative for any constituency, him can do it. Can you imagine that? Mm-hmm. You do have to be a citizen of Jamaica, as we can plainly see playing out now in the politics of Jamaica. You do have to be a citizen. Your mother do have to be a Jamaican. Your father do have to be a Jamaican. All you have to do is born in Australia. If you're born in Australia, you're part of the Commonwealth. So you can come here and spend 1 year, 20 years, 30 years, and not be a citizen of Jamaica, but end up being the Prime Minister. That system was set there by the colonial masters. That's what we say we need enough things we need for really check and figure out who decide that. Who decide those things. So now we say a move was made and we feel good about it. I don't care what nobody wants to say. I am feeling good. that these men who fought is legitimately free from that criminal dregs that was placed on them over the years. And even though we know that it make no difference, it don't make no difference. I mean, it don't make no difference a cup of tea or how much the price of gas. But there's some things that we have to do to wipe with some scars that was placed on us. Wipe it away, clean the slate. So as not to make these people feel that we don't have no guts. And it takes years to reach us all, this level here. Just like how it takes years to reach part the ganja reach. Just like how it takes years for somebody come and say they're going to have a reggae radio station. I live in an age where reggae was not allowed to play on Sundays on the radio. Imagine that. Everything where we do as African people seem to not legitimate. You hear the thing where a whole heap of artists sing against Obia? Because we grew up in our society, we say, voodoo and Obia is not something that we should attract. So here what we do now. They make it illegal. Illegal, you know. Yet them bring now. You see, Indian people are advertise. If you want good wealth and health and this and that, just contact them. And them are legitimately advertise it on television. You know, nobody has said nothing about it. Little advertisement, you say, much good camera to church and whatsoever name them want to call themselves. Them are advertise. If you want health, if you want wealth, energy, this, that, contact them in our crossroad or whatsoever. And the other man feel it. So most of it because we're so inculcated in the European thinking and the Bible thinking that when we hear about voodoo and Obia and Yoruba and Akan and Ghana and tradition and things there, we look down upon it. When we see a hank, we see a devil symbol. When we see the eye of Horus, we see a devil symbol. All of these things is African things, and everything where is African symbols is deemed not good in the Christian mentality. So Christian people look down upon Africa more than any other group of people. Most Jamaican people, certain African things, if you come to them with it, most Christian people in Africa don't look down upon them African traditions, African heritage. So when you hear a man talk about Obia in a joint, you say, Obia man, you gonna Obia man, this and that. Yes, what? If you check in the consciousness of Jamaican people, even though most of the ones them will go to church, all them old people like me will go to church. Anytime the pastor can't help them in Obia man, them gone. Obia man, them gone. If them in a problem with their husband and a problem with their wife, and go to pass, and tell him, so, well, you know, you must sit and pray. And every night and go home and pray, and the thing I get worse than them. Everyone gone, Obia man. So we have that in a way where them can't get out. We is Africa, not because we're born in Africa, but because Africa born in a way, and there's something that them can't come out, but them have to beat it out away and make it unlawful that you get punishment if you keep doing it. So they make some away who fight for liberation and kill some of them say we are criminal. But how is it that them come here so and go in Africa, go take out people out of them land, bring them on here so, torture them, kill them, murder them, rape them, all sorts of things, but them are no criminal. Look at a man like Henry Morgan. Henry Morgan was a big criminal. He was a pirate for the England, for the British throne, the British monarchy. Them all up French boat friendship and all them ship upon the seas and murder people and take with them things and carry to Port Royal in Jamaica. We could talk about that. We could talk about Jamaican heritage then. I don't know Jamaica have heritage, but we could talk about the heritage. Henry Morgan was knighted Sir Henry Morgan. Morgan Harbour was named after Henry Morgan. Morgan was a pirate. Rob, rape, kill, murder, plunder the seas, the Caribbean seas. And bring some of them welcome, store it up in a Jamaica, in a Port Royal, and was eventually become the governor. He eventually became a governor in a Jamaica. The man was not Jamaican citizen, but they was legitimate. They were protected by the king and queen and the crown of England. And then the English devised methods and means and ways of maintaining them power here without being here for themselves. So a lot of the things them that you hear them revise, the so-called founding fathers of Jamaica will sit down and legitimize certain things in the Constitution. Them themselves get taught by the same European invaders, the same British colonial mentality them have. So them eat certain things in the Constitution where it's not in the benefit of the Jamaican people, because it's still a maintained white supremacy by the British, the English people them who come here so come kill our people, and the Spaniards them who come murder the Taínos them, and all of the things them where we carry with we in our consciousness, because we never come here with nothing. We chain power foot and hand and everything. We never come here with nothing. The other day I go to Africa and a man carry me go around in one car and show me this chain. And I say the chain, when I look at it, a real chain. When I say look at the chain, when I look at the bracelet where they hold the chain, them, you know. And I say, no, Rasta, this used to put on people. And I have to look at the brethren and say, brethren, you can't have that and you know, where you have it, that's on offer. I give you money for it, you know. Any amount of money you want, I give you for this chain, you know. I'm going to buy the chain from the brethren, you know, and bring it, come back to Jamaica. And I say, I wonder if people that really look at that chain and don't recognize how cruel and barbarous the thing was for our African ancestors. That when me lift up the chain in my hand and look, say, I'm going to put on that one over here and one over here. I mean, I say, them have the foot one too, where you clamp on the foot, that's all. And I say, and then at this, the people them used to walk with on them foot. But it's true, we can't feel that pain there. And we don't see ourselves connected to that pain. Because we still see it as a long time thing will happen over there, so. We react to it just like how white people react to our pain. We react to our pain like how white people react to it, you know. Without sympathy. So we come here so now, as African people, and we hear about Marcus Garvey and the work that Marcus Garvey do over the years. For help, just for help, to make African people wake up and understand themselves, confident in themselves, do for themselves. And white people lock him up. And him over here, so, and because him get up in the thing and say, boy, the judge them should have get locked up too. To that effect. Them put him in a prison in a Jamaica. Right away, this man who was fighting for the liberation, you know, he was already a deportee. Them deport him here to Jamaica. And him get locked up in a Jamaica too. Spanish Town prison, lock him up, criminalize him. Paul Bogle, who a fight for equality and justice, him get hung because him couldn't take it no more. All the things that him do, them now listen to him. So he was forced to take another move. Ironically, me sit down in the parliament and hear these guys attack. So we must follow the footsteps of these people. I mean, I say, them would like we follow the footsteps of those people. So I don't know what them I say. When me hear the man get up and I say, for instance, like Kataki, you know, we must now look at the work that Taki did and how Taki stood up and fought a revolution and a struggle for make we be who we is today. We need some young people to be like Sam Sharp and be like Taki. I mean, I say, you know, you better sit down and shut your mouth. Because that me I say in my mind, because I say, you can't talk in a part of the gallery. I say, you sit up, then I say that you really want some youth rise up like Taki. I'm mad in my mad. But it's just words, because them can't just say that. So now we reach a stage now where these men is not recognized as criminal. We have to tell the children. We have to tell the people them who never interested that you have to bring some form of dignity to the rebellious and the rebellion. Bring some form of dignity to our ancestors who shed blood, sweat and tears. That we can still there, because we wasn't supposed to be here. We wasn't supposed to be here after so much years of what them put we through. We wasn't supposed to be here, but we are here. We are here and we'll be here. All year them talk about bottomless pit and them fool about this and that you go born on 1,000 years and things. We're going to still there. We're going still to be here. As long as the earth can hold human beings, African people will always be here. Because Haile Selassie said that long time. You hear what him say? Him say, Africa Armageddon has passed. Africa Armageddon has passed. So there's nothing that they can do now. No amount of vaccination, no amount of mosquito, no amount of poison food, no amount of wars going to eliminate African people off of the planet. Because we survived thousands of years of craziness and we're still there. And we're going to continue to be here. This is the cutting edge. Very interesting because Rastafari is the epitome of what you call perseverance in a Jamaica. No group of people in Jamaica has gone through and been through what the Rastafari community have been through. And if we're still there, a lobby, we're still there, a push forward our consciousness, ideas as it relates to African liberation and African redemption. We're still there, I push it. With all the fight, the battering and the bruising. We're still there. Can't get way out of the race. And there's so much things that we have persevered through and above. When we talk about Emancipation Day, them take it off because them give it Independence Day and I talk about we independent and we had say, but why we shouldn't have Emancipation Day? It was the Rastafari movement that push it and lobby it. A whole lot of people don't know that. The reason why you have an Emancipation Day on the 1st of August is Rastafari make that come back this up. Put that this up. The reason why we say ganja is now something of a multi-million commodity and supposed to be helping the economy of Jamaica whensoever and whatsoever, whensoever that time that happened. It's Rasta. All the things them we see Rasta go through for ganja. The mandatory 18 months that was placed on the where you find them catch you with ganja, mandatory. It was because from them time that the Coral Garden, it was placed there that even a little seed, bust a man to catch you with. And him friend them, 18 months imprisonment, even a seed. And now we hear them say, you can walk with 2 ounces and no feel no way. You can plant 5 plants in your yard and no feel no way. With the persistence of the Rastafari brethren and sisters them over the years, where we couldn't walk on the road with no locks. The common, normal Jamaican hold on Rasta and cut off them locks. Dirty Rasta. Put them head, them put cow dung in them head and make it stay so. Not well groomed. Now we see a different level of consciousness with the people them. But all the little girls them and the big girls them and the cougars and the jaguars them want to play up in the Rastaman locks like Delilah. But you know, no man now get me drunk and play the violence, you know. You think so me a Samson. Samson now an idiot, brother. Me now make no man play the violence, get me drunk. Muta I want a boom. Give me boom and blow up my head. That not gonna work. But we say the culture and what Rastafari has shaped, what them call the African culture dynamics that has been shaped in the so-called Caribbean by the Rastafari brethren and sisters that is spread all over the Caribbean is the only thing that connect the Caribbean. And you know, I'm going to find a tune there. I'm going to find a tune there. Stalin singing it, you know, Caribbean. I'm going to find a tune a little more. But after all the carry come and carry go argument and all the things them were supposed to connect the Caribbean people them. Rastafari is the thread in the connection with the Caribbean people. Anywhere you're going to the Caribbean, one thing we know, and when I ask someone that, when I have to do no survey about it, the Rastafari thread link all of the Caribbean island them. But we continue, we persevere, we go through as part of the cultural expression, the heritage we are talking about, because this is Heritage Month, and how Rastafari help to shape the identity, the African identity in the Caribbean. Rastafari help to shape. As a matter of fact, I will go and be presumptuous and saying that Rastafari is the vanguard of shaping the African identity in the Caribbean. No matter what island you go on, the argument of the Rastafari, the culture of the Rastafari is very pronounced. And all the leaders, them are try to connect the Caribbean. Them can't say it's the Rasta connection that connect it. Them no want to see. And whenever the people have sit down in a parliament, whenever the people have build up no big church building, all we have to do is just let it out there. And we use a secular music for protect a spiritual identity. Can you believe that? It's the only group of people that I know of we use pop music as a way to define them culture, to define them heritage, to define them spirituality, to define them philosophy. I don't know of any group, any indigenous group of people that use pop music to project all of those things, cultural expression, spiritual expression, philosophical expression, all of these things. So you find, say, you have to at university, this, if you study now, the Rastafari movement as it relates to identity and shaping the identity in the Caribbean. We're talking about heritage. I don't know, Jamaican have heritage, but I could go and play with it still, because then they wake up and realize that heritage can't connect with Jamaica. Can have a Jamaican heritage. But I guess it is not logical to say that, what we just say. Because we have already defined in our own little ignorance and mentality what heritage is and how it connects to Jamaica. You understand? So we use the word loosely. But it's not loosely. It is a definitive way to use it as it relates to the European logics. So we as African people now are still not been able to define ourselves in a society and in a commonwealth that don't give credence to our cultural expressions and don't give credence to our spiritual understanding. So anytime we come up with all of these things, it become a no-no. And the same people who supposed to even show a semblance of that retentive Africanness, them is the greatest fight against it. Them fight against it more than white people. More than white people. Them fight against it. Them don't want to hear nothing about Africa, nothing about certain spirituality, nothing about African clothes, African name. No. Unless it get popular upon them TV. I talked to my brother the other day and them go buy clothes and sell, and them I say, why the ladies, them I go for the Indian clothes them now, I say, see them now. And the like Indian show them on TV, I open up them tank into Indian things, The other day, I'm in the GPS, and I have all my clothes. A woman something on the line, I said, tell me something, you come from Africa? I say, why you ask me? I say, are your clothes? I look upon because I see them weird on TV. So say the little African soap opera them, where I come on TV, I kind of open up them thinking, even though that is not the Africa where we know still, but at least, because the other day, I show up me there South Africa, I take some picture from my hotel room. I take the picture of them, I come back to Jamaica, I show a certain one. Them I say, Africa that? Me never know, say them have all them high building in Africa. Highway, where the highway that? I say, that's right there, but we can't understand that, the ignorance. We can't understand the ignorance, That's why we're there so 20 years and don't feel no way. See, we don't feel no way because the slave bill a grind slow, but it a grind still. Called to my little virgin named Damien. Slave mill a grind slow, but it's still a grind. But we continue the journey still. We continue the journey because we're going to play this. Listen carefully.
The Zambian government, Bishop, sold the copper mines in northern Zambia to an outside consortium for $25 million. The copper mines for $25 million because they couldn't manage to keep them. The company that came in and took over the Zambian copper mines in 3 months made a profit of $75 million. They did not pay the Zambian government up front in cash for the mines. They were going to pay them over a period of time. Here we have this company that has an understanding of how things work, raised the money at the government's expense, took money that the company should have, the government should have been making, and gave it back to the government and said, we paid our debt in full, and give them now 0.006% of the proceeds of copper mining. When right outside the door there's people in poverty, people in not eating, people ignorant, people dying, high levels of AIDS, and what's the deal? Churches are full, people are praising God, Africans pray all night. Prayer is not in the success equation. Prayer is in the revelation equation. Decision making is in the success equation. You have to make a decision and be sound. We have to be disciplined and make sure we go and get what God has called us to get. You can be full of the Holy Ghost, but you can still be ignorant. But as for me and my house, I will get understanding. I will get understanding. I will get understanding. It's time now for us to rise up and be counted. This year, the country of Ghana turns 50. Ghana was born the same year we were born, in 1957. Ghana and South Korea had their independence dates on the same day, the same year. But look where South Korea is. South Korea is by nature not a Christian nation. South Korea by nature are Buddhists. China, which is the next large world economy, they have stated that in the next 10 years, 20% of the Chinese people will be multimillionaires. That means almost 450 million Chinese will be millionaires. They are not Christians, they are Buddhists. The Japanese are Shintoists. Those in Indonesia and Malaysia are Muslims. It's not about praising God and hallelujah and a great thank you, Jesus. It's about possessing an understanding as to how things work.
Carl Pablo Moses saying, take back your name and glorify your name. Yes, serious thing. You know, the time is 12 o'clock. This is the cutting edge. Technical problem this a while ago. All right. I could do this again. Because we know so some people want to hear it again, you know. As, hey, it's a man that did all that preach at Jamaica. You know, so me go to church every Sunday, you know.
The Zambian government, Bishop, sold the copper mines in northern Zambia to an outside consortium for $25 million. The copper mines for $25 million because they couldn't manage to keep them. The company that came in and took over the Zambian copper mines in 3 months made a profit of $75 million. They did not pay the Zambian government up front in cash for the mines. They were going to pay them over a period of time. Here we have this company that has an understanding of how things work, raised the money at the government's expense, took money that the company should have, the government should have been making, and gave it back to the government and said, we paid our debt in full, and give them now 0.006% of the proceeds of copper mining. When right outside the door there's people in poverty, people in not eating, people ignorant, people dying, high levels of AIDS, and what's the deal? Churches are full, people are praising God, Africans pray all night. Prayer is not in the success equation. Prayer is in the revelation equation. Decision making is in the success equation. You have to make a decision and be sound. We have to be disciplined and make sure we go and get what God has called us to get. You can be full of the Holy Ghost, but you can still be ignorant. But as for me and my house, I will get understanding. I will get understanding. I will get understanding. It's time now for us to rise up and be counted. This year, the country of Ghana turns 50. Ghana was born the same year we were born, in 1957. Ghana and South Korea had their independence dates on the same day, the same year. But look where South Korea is. South Korea is by nature not a Christian nation. South Korea by nature are Buddhists. China, which is the next large world economy, they have stated that in the next 10 years, 20% of the Chinese people will be multimillionaires. That means almost 450 million Chinese will be millionaires. They are not Christians, they are Buddhists. The Japanese are Shintoists. Those in Indonesia and Malaysia are Muslims. It's not about praising God and hallelujah and a great thank you, Jesus. It's about possessing an understanding as to how things work.
R.E.F.M. Thought-provoking, always smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Listen to this, listen.
The Congo chief, killed with blows with butt of gun.
Magundwa, chief, killed with blows with butt of gun.
Kunja, chief,
Monjangu,
killed with blows
man,
with butt of
killed by the gun.
Kumba, man,
Woman,
killed by the
killed
gun.
by the gun. Likoka, man, imprisoned and hung himself. Montembe,
Girl,
man,
killed by the
killed by the gun. Moeku, Kiambaka, Benga, Ifeka,
who are tempted to commit unspeakable crimes must be deterred by the knowledge that one day they will be individually called on to account.
It's been a long and brutal war in the Congo.
There are old scores that have been settled here, creating new ones to be avenged tomorrow or the day after.
The wrongs which we seek to condemn and punish have been so calculated, so malignant, and so devastating that civilization cannot tolerate their being ignored.
It seems unlikely that the people of Zaire will ever see the money that Mobutu stole and kept in Switzerland and other countries.
The United States has supported and will continue to support the United Nations presence in the Congo.
Democratic Republic of the Congo. The land is vast, lush, full of life and riches. Ivory, rubber, timber, copper, gold, uranium, coffee, diamonds, coltan, natural resources which have inspired a most unnatural history of greed and violence. For decades it was called Zaire, ruled by the notorious dictator Mobutu Sese Seko, who some remember as host to the rumble in the jungle. Others remember him as a ruthless criminal who subverted the hopes of his own nation. The Congo should have been the pride of Africa. Over 3 times the size of Texas, with a river capable of producing enough power to light up the entire African continent. Instead, its people are among the poorest in the world, and many are likely to die an unnatural death. They have been the victims of Belgium.
For somebody like me, having gone through school in the Congo, what we learned in the textbooks was that Leopold was the greatest benefactor Congo ever had, because he sacrificed his fortune for the Congolese.
Donc j'étais à l'école entre 49 et 69, disons. Je n'ai jamais entendu.
I was in school from 49 to 69, and I never heard a word related to the injustices and constraints of colonization.
Je l'ai découvert, ce type.
This type of colonization is part of human history everywhere and forever.
L'histoire humaine, partout et toujours.
That doesn't excuse it, of course.
Bien sûr.
Leopold ascended the throne of Belgium in 1865. He inherited a country not much bigger than New Hampshire, wedged between the old world power of France and the rising might of a new and unified Germany. While across the English Channel, Leopold's cousin, Queen Victoria, a constitutional monarch like himself, reigned over Great Britain, the most powerful empire of the period. In the middle of the 19th century, King Leopold was beleaguered by a Europe that was confidently entering the modern age. A time of intense industrial growth and personal enrichment for one in the appropriate position. King Leopold felt anxious when monarchs and profiteers had cut their deals for colonies and fortunes. What was left for Leopold to cut?
Alors, il a une première obsession, c'est donner à la Belgique une colonie.
Leopold II has a primary obsession, which is to provide Belgium with a colony. He wants grandiose cities with large avenues, with London, Paris, and the other major capitals of Europe serving as a model. And it's obvious that a colony would provide the means to develop major cities. But it's interesting to dig deeper and to see at what price.
By 1838, Great Britain had severed the long chains of slavery throughout her empire, and by 1870, most of the unclaimed territories around the world had been colonized by Leopold's European rivals. It seemed only Africa was up for grabs. At the start of the 1870s, 80% of Africa was still under indigenous rule. It was ripe for conquest, or protection, as Leopold learned to put it.
The event that captured Leopold's attention was Stanley's crossing of Africa from 1874 to 1877. He followed Stanley's activities in the newspapers, which he had delivered every day.
Henry Morton Stanley, the most famous explorer of his day, became the first white man to chart the Congo River's course. The brutal expedition took the lives of his 3 white companions, along with 246 of his African porters, who died of disease and exhaustion.
We have attacked and destroyed 28 large towns and 3 or 4 score villages. I desire some generous and opulent philanthropist who shall permit me to lead a force for commerce with Central Africa.
The opulent philanthropist was waiting. A colonial grab by Leopold would require a cunning humanitarian veneer. To engineer a charade of philanthropy, he recruited Stanley and financed what, to the world, was promoted as a scientific expedition. Stanley's contract ran for 5 years at an annual salary equal to $250,000 in today's dollars. Leopold had begun to cut his deal.
Stanley's job was to create at key points along the Congo River a series of stations that would connect the east coast with the West Coast.
He built not only a chain of trading stations, but also a road around the dangerous rapids of the Congo River, precursor to a railway line.
If you look at the map of Congo today, if you look at the structure of transport, it hasn't changed since colonial rule. You can see that it's sort of heading toward either the East Coast, then the West, Matadi. So the entire infrastructure was built in a way to ship out things, not to make the Congo a first-rate industrial power.
Stanley has been glamorized in books and by Hollywood as an intrepid explorer, great adventurer, great builder, but he was no builder. He arrived uninvited and laid the foundation for really what was the destruction of the societies that were there.
Stanley was sent by King Leopold to discover the Congo. It's him that discovered us. Our brothers that saw him first also saw his soldiers.
How do you make people into forced laborers? Very easily, by force.
The best punishment is that of irons. Because without wounding, disfiguring, or torturing the body, it inflicts shame and discomfort on the workers.
Centuries of slave-hunting raids had weakened the indigenous tribal groups, and there was no powerful state or military obstacle to stop Leopold. Treasure of the era, exotic and expensive. Leopold smelled profit and demanded quantities of it.
I am desirous to see you purchase all of the ivory which is to be found in the Congo.
By now, Stanley had organized a powerful private army, the beginnings of the notorious Force Publique, equipped with 1,000 rifles and Krupp cannons. The army swept through the country, shooting elephants, buying tusks from villagers, or just taking them.
You should purchase as much land as you will be able to obtain without losing 1 minute from all the chiefs from the mouth of the Congo to Stanley Falls. I will send you more people and more material. Perhaps Chinese coolies.
Leopold was adamant that his colony making be perceived as philanthropic. Leopold, the redeemer of a savage people. He organized his interests under the guise of charity and benefactions, often employing deceptive and misleading association names.
Il demande à Stanley, vous allez avancer.
He asked of Stanley, you will advance step by step, and every time you run into an indigenous chief, you sign a treaty with him. You'll be under the flag of the independent state, not the flag of Belgium.
To sign over one's land was unthinkable, but the Congo chiefs, with no written language, had no idea what they were signing. In return for cloth, trinkets, beads, and gin, the chiefs gave up rights to all land, waterways, game, fishing, forestry, mining, essentially everything.
And Stanley signed hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of treaties.
We have constituted entire territories ceded by sovereign chiefs into independent states.
The new Congo flag with the gold star, symbolizing the light of civilization in the darkness of Africa, held sway over the lands of 450 Congo Basin chiefs, a territory 76 times the size of Belgium. Over 900,000 square miles had become the private estate of King Leopold.
There is no question of granting the slightest political power to Negroes. That would be absurd. The white men, heads of the stations, retain all the powers.
Leopold maintained a complete monopoly, even as he insisted that he was opening up Africa to free trade and that his venture had no commercial interest. The 1880s in general were prosperous times for the United States, a time of accelerated productivity and national industrialization. America was moving toward an economic ascendancy that would exceed the greatest of the European powers and launch America's own colonial ambitions. Leopold looked across the Atlantic and extended the tactical range of his public relations. He developed a dazzling campaign of misinformation.
It's called spin, and Leopold was a master of spin control. He could have taught today's American tobacco companies a thing or two about public relations. Leopold convinced a number of American politicians that what he was really doing in Africa was stopping the slave trade. And he convinced one of the more forgettable American presidents.
The king's aim is to found a chain of hospices, both hospitable and scientific, which should serve as a means of information and aid to travelers.
Sufficiently diluted, by April 1884, the United States was the first country to recognize King Leopold's claim on the Congo. At a conference in Berlin the following year, other nations followed suit. The delegates, outwitted by effective public relations, thought they were endorsing an international free trade zone, but ended up granting Leopold virtually everything he wanted. Chancellor Otto von Bismarck called it a swindle. In May of 1885, Leopold named his new private country the Congo Free State. No African was consulted.
Everything in the Congo Free State was the property of the king. The forests, the animals, the villagers' vegetables harvested to feed his soldiers. He held title to life, to liberty. Still, lacking the resources to fully exploit the entire territory, Leopold was compelled to create concessions which attracted private investment. Leopold retained 50% ownership and profited even more from taxes and processing fees.
Léopold II, très malin, va toujours trouver le moyen de très très vite convoquer ses
Leopold II is very cunning and is always going to find a way to quickly summon his banker friends, various firms, the Rothschilds, future large corporations, Unilevers,
et va leur donner des concessions.
And he will grant them concessions. In other words, land on which they will carry out their own economic exploitation.
Léopold II se gardant la partie centrale.
Leopold II, meanwhile, kept the central part for himself, which became the infamous Crown Fund, property of the Crown.
The Berlin Conference members helped promote a fund for a railroad system that would transport Leopold's troops to fight the slave traders. And Leopold struck a deal with his parliament for an enormous development loan. In return, he agreed to leave the Congo to Belgium at the time of his death, though he would ultimately sell it back to Belgium at an inspirational profit. He got his loan interest-free.
Quand le Belge était arrivé, alors
After Stanley arrived, they started the railway line. Our ancestors died. They died because they were forced to break the stones by hand. They had to make holes in the rocks. They had to break it in order to place explosives inside.
Stanley himself, using a sledgehammer, smashed boulders, causing the natives to call him Bula Matadi, or breaker of rocks. A name which came to imply something more sinister with time.
The construction of the railway was very difficult. Many people died, especially the Congolese. There were also few whites who died. It is out of that experience that Bula Matari, which means rock breaking, was used to refer to the state, but also to refer to breaking all resistance.
Of the benevolence of King Leopold, George Washington Williams, an American minister, lawyer, and enterprising journalist, proposed to recruit other Black Americans to work in the Congo. He spent 6 months on foot and by steamer going up the Congo River. To his horror, he did not find a colony under benign rule, as described by Stanley and King Leopold, but a hellhole of torture, abuse, and murder. In protest, he wrote a milestone of investigative journalism.
I accuse Leopold's officials of tyranny. I accuse Leopold's government of excessive cruelty. Ox chains eat into the necks of prisoners and produce sores about which flies circle. The courts are abortive, unjust, and delinquent. Not one state official knows the language of the natives. Your Majesty's government is engaged in slave trade, wholesale, and retail.
The New York Herald devoted a column to Williams' open letter, causing a furor in Europe where other newspapers picked up Williams' accusations.
The United States has a special responsibility because it introduced this African government to the international arena.
Williams was the first person to speak out about what others had witnessed, but refused to admit.
In describing Leopold's Congo state in action, Williams used a phrase which prefigures the Nuremberg trials by more than half a century.
Leopold's Congo state is guilty of crimes against humanity.
Leopold dismissed the charges with little difficulty.
The Congo state is certainly not a business. If it gathers ivory on certain of its lands, that is only to lessen its deficit. In dealing with a race composed of cannibals for thousands of years, It is necessary to use methods which will best shake their idleness and make them realize the sanctity of work.
I could never reconcile to myself that Belgians came to civilize, right? To teach the Congolese how to work was part of the civilizing mission. Never mind the fact that, this was slave labor. There was this notion that, and it continues today, Africans are lazy. People would make jokes. If somebody wanted to say that some other white was really working hard, he would say, well, that guy is really working like a nigger. Which means to say that in fact, it was known down deep that, the Africans were really pushed to work like slaves.
Pitiful walking beasts of burden, with thin monkey legs, eyes fixed and round from preoccupation with keeping their balance and from the days of exhaustion.
What made it possible for Congo state officials to deal out all this pain and terror? Race. They saw the Africans as less than human.
The tool of this sanctioned terror was called the shakot, a whip of raw, sun-dried hippopotamus hide cut into long, sharp-edged corkscrew strips. Its blows left scars, but worse, 25 lashes could render the victim unconscious, and 100 blows could be fatal. Shakot became a symbol of Leopold's white rule, along with the steamboat and the rifle.
That colonial system was basically organized and maintained through military rule, which the king was trying to impose on the Congolese.
Leopold's army, the Force Publique, was 19,000 strong by the turn of the century.
How could Congolese be made to enforce this brutal system against their own people? Leopold's private army would take soldiers and send them 500, 600 miles away from their own homes. Nonetheless, there were a lot of mutinies inside this private army, and there was a lot of local resistance to the army.
And I still remember today, orally, names of people who led the rebellion, because people were literally being driven like animals.
A local chief named Nzansu led an uprising, ambushing and killing state agents and destroying their posts. Nzansu spared a benevolent Swedish Baptist mission and even returned some supplies his men had taken. To control the population and suppress such rebellions, Leopold would raise an army of orphans devoid of loyalty to anything but the state.
I believe we must set up 3 children's colonies. The aim of these colonies is, above all, to furnish us with soldiers.
It was unusual in tightly knit African tribes for parentless children to be sent away, but many were orphaned because the Force Publique had killed their parents. These were the only state-funded schools for children in Leopold's Africa. Disease was rife, and the death rate high.
Several of the little girls were so sickly on their arrival that our good sisters couldn't save them, but all had the happiness of receiving holy baptism. They are now little angels in heaven who are praying for our great King.
At the turn of the century, worldwide rubber boom exploded.
This is the time when electricity spreads throughout the Western world. So rubber is essential, not just for automobile tires, but for anything and everything that had to do with electric wires. And that explains why rubber prices were so high.
Nowhere did the boom have a greater impact than in the Congo, where rubber vines snaked high into the rainforests that covered half of Leopold's colony. The king had gone into debt with his Congo investments, but the return on rubber would surpass all his expectations.
Rubber was not the most valuable product. Ivory was much more valuable, but rubber was what mattered. Leopold financed his colony on the back of rubber.
We passed a man on the road who had broken his back by falling from a tree while tapping some vines.
Rubber is a sap which must be congealed to be carried. The only method the workers typically had in the forest was to spread it over their bodies as they worked. It caused excruciating pain when it was peeled away.
People were afraid of this work. Nobody would agree to take this work on his own. No, they were rather arresting them, chasing them up to their home, and they would tie their hands with chains and send them on the rubber job.
The Red Rubber Terror began in the 1890s. 2 horrifying decades followed of murder and madness in return for profit. Villages were assigned exact rubber quotas. Forced to meet accelerating demands, tappers scattered widely through the jungle, often climbing trees 100 feet off the ground. They could make a small incision at the base of the vine to tap it, or whack through the vine entirely. This produced rubber quickly but killed the vine. In a perverse reversal of production management, tappers were severely punished for not making their quotas, as well as for making their quotas, but killing the vine.
The native doesn't like making rubber. He must be compelled to do it.
Soldiers arrive in a village, start looting, take all the chickens, grain, goats, and finally they seize the women. These women are kept hostage until the chief brings in the required number of kilograms of rubber.
Sometimes women were held hostage. Sometimes children. Sometimes elders or chiefs. The wives of villagers who resisted were killed, but often died anyway in the stockades, where food was scarce and conditions harsh.
The women taken during the last raid are causing me no end of trouble. All the soldiers want one. The sentries who are supposed to watch them unchain the prettiest ones and rape them.
Luego est la première mission de l'église presbytérienne.
Luebo was the site of the first Presbyterian mission, started by Shepherd and Lapsley, who were the first American missionaries to arrive here in Kasai.
Shepherd est le modèle du courage.
Shepherd was a model of courage.
A aimé le peuple congolais.
Shepherd loved the Congolese people, and especially the Kuba people. He even learned their language. They thought he was the spirit of their chief's children, come back from the dead. Our parents were living in suffering. Our parents were living in death. By the time the Shepherd Party arrived, our parents did not have wives. They did not have children. The torment's time came. They tortured people. others were killed. But when Shepherd showed up, our parents could at last take wives and make children. So if this village has been able to prosper this way, it is thanks to Shepherd.
Il a surtout lutté pour le droit de l'homme.
He especially focused on the notion of human rights.
Il a trouvé que ce peuple-là était en train de s'affaiblir.
He discovered that these people were weakening because the men were being taken and sent into the forest to extract the rubber.
Et lorsque les hommes n'apportaient
And in the event the men did not come back with the required amount of rubber,
ils étaient battus,
they were beaten,
flagellés,
whipped,
et parfois
and sometimes their hands were cut off.
States under which was burning a slow fire. And there they were, the right hands. I counted them, 81 in all.
Hands were smoked to preserve them until they could be tallied. Shepherd learned that if a village refused to gather rubber, the state troops would shoot everyone in sight. Some white officers demanded proof that the bullet had not been wasted in hunting, or worse, saved for a mutiny. Occasionally, the soldiers would hunt, and as a cover-up, they would cut a hand from an innocent adult or child.
Shepard répondu aux atrocités que commettaient les agents léopoldiens.
Shepherd responded to the atrocities being committed by King Leopold's agents by writing articles to denounce these crimes to the world.
Shepherd's horrifying findings were reprinted widely in Europe and in the United States. A Belgian parliamentarian referred to Leopold's cinquantenaire monument, then being constructed in Brussels from Congo rubber profits, as the Arch of the Severed Hands.
"28 miles north of the capital, Antwerp serves as the center of the world's diamond industry. All the ivory, rubber, and other riches flowing into Belgium from Leopold's Congo were stored in warehouses on its docks. Medieval tradition has it that a giant once controlled Antwerp's harbor and demanded exorbitant tolls from the ships needing anchorage. If a captain refused to pay, the giant cut off his hand and flung it in the water. One day, a brave Roman soldier fought and killed the giant, cutting off his hand and throwing it in the river. So the city's name came from the phrase Antwerpen, meaning hand tossing. Hands are still in evidence, everywhere. Like most people in Europe, the writer Joseph Conrad also believed Leopold's mission in the Congo was a noble and civilizing one. But after 6 months as a steamboat captain on the Congo River, Conrad returned to Europe so horrified by the brutality he witnessed that his view of human nature was permanently changed. He later transformed his experience into the most widely reprinted short novel in the English language.
Marlowe, Joseph Conrad's alter ego, is hired by an ivory trading company to sail a steamboat upriver. His destination is a post where the company's brilliant, ambitious star agent, Mr. Kurtz, is stationed.
The most talked about exhibit at the 1897 World's Fair that Leopold secured for Belgium was a living tableau. 267 black men, women, and children imported from the Congo Free State were placed in villages constructed in a park. Here one could see replications of a river village, a forest village, and a civilized village, which included 90 Force Publique soldiers.
When Leopold heard that some of them were getting sick because of candy they were eating that was tossed to them by the crowd, he put up the equivalent of a "Don't feed the animals" sign at a zoo, saying, "The blacks are fed by the organizing committee."
The scramble for Africa included looting of great quantities of Congolese art that ended up in private collections and museums around the world. Also on exhibit at the fair were samples of products streaming in from the Congo.
By the end of the 19th century, the Belgian port of Antwerp was one of the busiest ports in Europe. Edmund Dean Morel was a clerk working in Liverpool for a British shipping line, which had a major shipping contract to and from the Congo. On the docks of Antwerp, Morel discovered a stunning fraud. Rich loads of ivory and rubber came from the Congo and into Belgium, but very few trade goods were shipped back, except for huge amounts of weapons and military goods. And someone was skimming huge profits off the top.
The figures told their own story. Forced labor of a terrible and continuous kind could alone explain such profits. It must be bad enough to stumble upon a murder. I stumbled upon a secret society of murderers.
With a flash of insight from a modest shipping clerk, King Leopold had attracted in Edmund Morel his most dangerous opponent. Once he began to unravel Leopold's web of deceptions, Morel would become one of the great investigative journalists of his day.
I was filled with determination to do my best to expose and destroy what I then knew to be a legalized infamy, responsible for a vast destruction of human life.
One of the rubber concessions, Abir, the Anglo-Belgian India Rubber and Exploration Company, sold raw rubber at a 700% profit. Harvesting wild rubber required virtually no investment except back-breaking labor. Their books listed 47,000 gatherers.
Lavavo pa kuma fimbo
When they were beating them, they received up to 20 lashes. They had no right to eat. They were not allowed to drink water. Many people died following this treatment. Their words when they were lashing people, they were explaining that they came to put an end to our suffering and that they brought us better civilization. That's what the Belgians were saying.
In high rubber districts, villagers were forced to wear numbered metal tags so company agents could keep track of their quotas. At just one collection point, a missionary counted 400 people with baskets. The state or concession companies paid villagers with a piece of cloth, a few spoonfuls of salt, a knife, or nothing at all.
In 1903, the British Parliament passed a protest resolution condemning Belgium's failure to live up to Leopold's promises about fair trade and his treatment of the natives.
The British government orders His Majesty's Britannic Consul in the Congo, Roger Casement, who happened to be Irish, to investigate and report back immediately. Even though he was employed by the leading colonial power of the day, Casement developed an eye for injustice and witnessed more brutality in Africa than most.
On Sunday evening, natives brought me a mutilated lad whose right hand had been hacked off quite recently. The culprit was a sentry of La Lulunga, a Belgian trading society. When I asked why they had not appealed to their commissar, I heard from them, why, it is the commissar. It is the Bula Matadi who does these things to us.
One of the rare testimonies recorded was documented by an American Swahili-speaking state agent, Edgar Canisius, who was moved by a woman of great intelligence named Ilanga.
We were all busy in the fields, for it was the rainy season and all the weeds sprang up quickly. A large band of soldiers came into the village. We were dragged into the road and tied together with cords about our necks. The soldiers beat us and compelled us to march to the camp, where the soldiers brought baskets of food for us to carry, some of which was smoked human flesh. My sister Katinga had her baby in her arms and was not compelled to carry a basket. But my husband was made to carry a goat. We marched until the afternoon, when we camped near a stream where we were glad to drink, for we were much athirst. The soldiers took my sister's baby and threw it in the grass, leaving it to die. On the sixth day, we became very weak from lack of food, and my husband with the goat could not stand up longer. And so he sat down and refused to walk more. Then one of them struck him on the head with the end of his gun. One of the soldiers caught the goat, while two others stuck their long knives they put on the ends of their guns into my husband. I saw the blood spurt out, then saw him no more. For we passed over the brow of the hill, and he was out of sight. After marching 10 days, we came to the great water, and were taken in canoes across to the white men's slave town of Nyangwe.
In June of 2003, the UN appointed a panel to investigate the growing abuses underway in the Congo.
I did serve as a member of the United Nations panel of experts, the expert panel on the exploitation of natural resources and other forms of wealth in the Democratic Republic of Congo. It did imply by the name that it was this issue, the issue of inappropriate commercial activity with dire consequences, that was responsible for the conflict, for this war, essentially. And I would like to stress that the roots of civil wars is in economic issues.
I think that there is some sort of limit to greed and profit, and that's what the UN panel report has shown, that you don't use war to make profit when people suffer, like in a country like the Congo.
Now, who are these companies? Some are, of course, criminal operations, and we find this everywhere. But there are also terrorist organizations that are involved in business, and the line between Hezbollah and Hezbollah's political and its business operations is pretty slim. And then there are the military regimes of neighboring countries who have come to realize that this is a much better way to make money than through taxes and through foreign aid. And then finally, there are the transnational corporations who claim that they are doing a great deal of good for the Congolese, but on closer inspection, their role is nefarious. And I'm delighted that the panel took the decision, as it did, to name the companies. It named 157 of them, and it started the ball rolling. All of these companies that helped are complicit in what's happening in the Congo. Banks may be among them.
The lowering of cost of production came by the use of violence, and thus getting diamond and gold much easier than paying the cost of labor of their production.
It's the economics that drive so many of the conflicts with which we're grappling today. These are not going to be settled by peace accords and by political reconciliation. These are going to be settled by some mechanism which is able to hold businesses, international corporations, mining companies, trading companies to account.
Joseph Kabila, in command of the Congo's military, succeeded his father immediately after Laurent Kabila was assassinated. The new president is young but embattled, faced with a country suffering from 32 years of war. Unlike his father, he has attempted to negotiate with some of his father's enemies.
And each of them has some personal, particular strongholds or a relationship with power in this country. Jean-Pierre Bemba is Congolese, comes from the Mobutu clan, but he was also a warlord, and he may be accused by an international court at some point.
Je veux dire, ce n'est pas un secret.
Donc je pense que les richesses de ce pays n'ont jamais profité aux Congolais eux-mêmes.
It's no secret that the rich resources of this country have never benefited the Congolese people.
Politiques ou financiers extérieurs.
Instead, they have benefited either those in power or foreign political and financial groups.
In January 1999, Jean-Pierre Bemba, leader of the Movement for the Liberation of the Congo, along with the Ugandan Major General James Kazini, organized a looting of coffee beans so vast that it bankrupted the Congolais Société du Café, the largest owner of coffee stocks in the Northeast.
En tout cas, dans la zone que je contrôlais, il n'y avait pas beaucoup de choses à profiter.
There was little to profit from in the area I controlled because it was in the forest.
Il n'y avait pas de richesse.
There were no resources from which we could profit.
The UN panel report reveals that in Equator province, where Bemba is in control, he instructed his soldiers to systematically empty banks once a town was captured.
On l'a vu dans le rapport d'ailleurs des Nations Unies.
It was in the United Nations report, actually.
De 5 milliards de dollars.
It mentions 5 billion that were embezzled.
Effort to stabilize his country, Joseph Kabila has sought debt cancellation from the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund, the US, France, and Belgium. 4 main rebel leaders now serve as vice presidents in a power-sharing government designed to end the country's civil war.
I think the situation here is so terrible that people don't really give a lot of importance to the legitimacy of these different political leaders. What people want now is just some sort of economic development, some sort of peace. So they're ready to support Joseph Kabila if he provides this.
Joseph Kabila promised elections for 2005, which did not take place. The 4 vice presidents will compete with Kabila for the presidency.
I think it's also in the hands of the local people to fight for their rights. People haven't really yet realized that it's perhaps the right time for them to march and to take to the street.
The Congo is simply too Leopold II, and this is the same today.
The legacy of Leopold's time still haunts the Congo today.
The 3.4 to 4 million people who died as a result of the conflict errs on the low side. And I think it's probably worth making the same point for King Leopold's time, because the causes of high mortality rates are pretty much the same. The people who are the victims are forced to bear the provisioning of the armies who are their victimizers. A child who is born in some of these areas has about a 70% chance of dying.
There's been So much violence that the newly created International Criminal Court in The Hague has chosen to focus on the Congo as its first investigation.
I was heading to the bathroom around 5 p.m. I met Shabani. He sent a boy to catch me and bring me to him. He forced me into a room. I was screaming. He pulled my clothes off after taking off his own. He bound my hands, and then he raped me.
Plus de 65%.
But when you ask them what happened, most people do not know. I do not know if Belgium has offered apologies for the rubber tragedy, but I know they apologized concerning the assassination of Lumumba to the people of the Congo and to my family.
Alors, la famille royale, c'est un drôle de sujet en Belgique, très intouchable.
The royal family is a strange subject in Belgium. Quite untouchable. One that hides and protects itself and that never appears in the public debate.
Je crois que c'est vraiment au système démocratique et parlementaire à faire la lumière.
I believe it's really up to the democratic system and up to the parliament to shed some light. It's much stronger.
Mais il faut le faire également dans une approche équilibrée.
But it must be done with a balanced approach, so as not to give the impression that there were only injustices, that there was only killing. There were many other things as well.
Et cela est souvent oublié.
And that is often forgotten in debates that are sometimes partisan to one side or another.
It has been very difficult, very long and laborious to put the country back on track.
Mais si nous autres, les Congolais, nous-mêmes, nous n'y croyons pas, je ne sais pas qui va y croire.
But if we, the Congolese, ourselves do not believe in it, I do not know who will.
Je crois que dans ce pays, il y a non seulement...
And I believe that in this country, there is not only wealth, right? It does exist.
Extraordinaire.
But there are especially people. There are human resources that are extraordinary. And I believe in that. And we know that we have to work to make it come true.
R.E.F.M. Thought-provoking. Always smoking. Lyrics like a bazooka. You are listening to Mutabaruka.
Yes. What a gripping documentary, man. King Leopold, the man who caused the death of 10 million Africans, and him never set foot on the continent of Africa yet. Wow. You know, we hear about the 6 million Jews that died in the Holocaust. 6 million Jews. How much of us have ever heard of the 10 million Africans that Leopold caused to die in his quest for and his greed for power and domination? And the reason why we play this documentary at this time is because the cry of reparation is loud. The cry of reparation is very loud. And once it was just the Rastafari movement that was saying this thing. But now it's the CARICOM leaders has come together now to demand reparation. So we dig deeper into the Congo, where a lot of our African retentions in Jamaica come from. Lot of it, lot of what we claim to be African. We're talking about heritage, you know, because them says heritage. I don't know Jamaica have heritage, but we could just use it. When we talk about heritage, we have to talk about the African retention, the Congolese retention in Jamaica. when we talk about reparation, we can say that there is a claim for reparation from Belgium as it relates to the Congo. And we can continue, I don't know how much more Wednesday we have in this month, we can continue and play some other countries and what they did, what the Germans did in the Cameroon, what the British did in Ghana, what the Portuguese did in Mozambique and Angola. Reparation is not something that is illusion and elusive. It's a real and a just cause. When you hear we in the minority bawl out for reparation, it's not begging. We're not begging. If we deal with justice, justice is what it is all about. When you deprive a group of people for years, deprive them of them humanity, take away their culture, them institutions, them philosophy, them spirituality, them name, and themselves. And when we now look on the descendants, or the people who survived that Holocaust, who's claiming this thing for their ancestors and for themselves, claiming that we, the survivors of those Holocausts on African people over the centuries, must be compensated by the evildoers, the perpetrators of this inhuman action. When you hear the word reparation, it is all about repairing, accepting, acknowledging that there was something done in history to deprive a group of people their potential to develop themselves socially, economically, politically, religiously, spiritually. They were deprived of that. And when some so-called sympathetic whites realized that they were duped, just like the Africans were duped, into believing that what Leopold was doing was something of significance and interest to the European continent, when them really realized it was too late. Too late. 10 million people, Africans. And you see how them do it when you don't find enough rubber, just like them do it in the Tainos. When the Tainos never find enough gold, or find any gold at all, they would cut off them wrists or cut off them foot. Can you imagine you living in a country where hundreds of people walking around with no hand, with no wrists, them cutting off the wrists? Terrible thing. Terrible thing. We're talking about heritage. We're talking about even though Africa is a continent with many different states, we recognize that there's something that was done to African people, not as states, but because you're an African, not because you're a Nigerian or you're a Ghanaian or you're a Cameroon or from where you come from, because we were African people who was not seen as human beings, to be treated like human beings. So, the Bible says that when a slave work and him getting in age and him work over a certain period of time, and this is the Bible we're talking about, where the Christians hold to what white people hold fast to. The Bible says that when a slave has worked for over a period of time, and when he is released from the slavery condition that he was in, the owner of the slave must compensate the slave. Must compensate the slave. This is one of the prerequisites of what we call reparation after a period of slavery. The Bible said that. So, them never see that part. Because in a film Bible, the law states that slaves must be compensated for the work that they did after they are freed from that slavery. So how come people are going like say, when we are talking about we want this from people for this and this and that, and true we lazy and we work 400 years and never get no pay, and you say we lazy? Is the conditions in what that we were working under why we get scared now and don't want to work? The conditions that we were working under, not getting no pay and not being human. We ask a question. If the Bible says that slaves after serving slavery must be compensated, why is it that when we say after 400 years of brutality against African people, reparation is a just cause? A just cause. We're talking about reparation. Reparation for we who survive that Holocaust. And they speak about 6 million Jews. We're talking about in Belgium, thinking in the Congo, we're talking about 10 million just in the Congo alone. We don't even mention the millions who died in the movement of Africans from the west coast of Africa to this part of the earth. We don't talk about the guy when named Cecil Rhodes in Zambia, sorry, not Zambia, Zimbabwe. Cecil Rhodes. These Europeans who went into Africa to civilize and Christianize the Africans. This is what they did to our ancestors, and the remnant and residue of what they did still linger up to this day. And if you don't believe me, listen to me talk and you realize it linger, because if it never linger, we wouldn't even need a program like this. We wouldn't need a program like this. After 20 odd years, if things was as though it's supposed to be, we wouldn't need this program. This program would be just not necessary, but very necessary. Because African people need to wake up and stop make people wash them brain. Look how long we're there and them still a wash for brain. This is the cutting edge on RFM. Yeah. What?
Yeah, I say I'm calling from England.
Yeah, man, yeah, yeah, man.
All right, brilliant. What it is, I noticed you was talking about reparations, right?
Reparation, yes.
And yeah, we have a lot of debates in England, about reparations and what could be done. And what I've noticed, and my opinion is, in order for us as a people to get reparations, we have to have some form of power. We have to gain some form of power. You see, like the Jews and India and them have money. Yeah, so when they bail out reparations, they want compensation for anything, they get listened to. But as far as the other people see us, the people that are oppressing us, they see us as nothing. So when we are about
Brethren, the mama in Kenya get reparation about 2 or 3 years ago from the British.
From who? Who gave them reparations?
The mama. You ever hear about the mama?
I've heard of the mama. Yeah.
From Kenya, who fought against the British occupation of Kenya.
Right. They
fight for reparations from the 50s and they got it.
And they got it. So they've been fighting from the 50s and they got it 2 years ago.
Yeah, even though it was small, but the idea of getting a reparation in a case like that is very monumental as it relates to reparation.
Right. And when there's some law that they passed, isn't it? There's a law, I forget what the law is, like a human, blah, blah, blah. I think in slavery, when slavery was going on 400 years ago, there wasn't a law put in place for the rights of humans. And I think there's a law. The reason, from what I've heard, yeah, anytime we try to go to court in regards to reparations, they talk about this particular law. I think it's the Human Rights Act. And because it happened before the Human Rights Act, their argument is, well, it wasn't illegal.
It was legal at the time. Yeah, that's that. It was legal.
It was legal, yeah. So that's their argument. So you kind of stuck on that one. But yet the Jews seem to have got they got reparation, they got compensation. But the difference between us and as far as I look at it, the difference between us and the Jews is the fact that them have money and they've got power. They have control.
Yeah.
So if they don't get their money,
we agree with you that you have to have certain power. That is why it's important that the governments in the Caribbean come together as one voice. Because it have to go through the governments to government, the Queen to the government here. It have to go through that. So I agree with you that there have to be a certain amount of power as it relates to the coming together of the people them. Just like in America now, there's a strong voice of reparation. The voice is getting louder too. The voice is getting louder.
Yeah. I agree. If CARICOM can kind of have some control and power, then yes, they would be heard, and hopefully something will be changed. It's like, we look at the police, for instance, in America where there's incidents of shootings and whatnot against our people. And the only way that they're going to make any change in respect to what's happening, because we've been protesting and making a whole heap of noise and they ain't done nothing. Well, but the only way we're going to have some change is when we have some form of control, or we boycott their system, we boycott their monetary system.
Definitely.
Do you understand?
Yes.
So
yes,
yeah, man. No, big up Muta, boy. The first time you ever get through, but big up. So,
I wonder how you get through tonight.
I must be my lucky night, innit? Martin.
All right, I give thanks.
Yeah, man. So I big up the Progressive African Minds group, the WhatsApp group in England. Big up Motion 54, and yeah, man, keep up the good works, man.
Yes, and I want to tell you, them keep reminding me. I must say, you can follow me at the real Mutabaruka. Yes, you can follow Mutabaruka at the real Mutabaruka on the Instagram thinking. Every time them keep reminding me, must say it, and I don't remember. But what can I say? What a music. Sweet. Yes, EL. Let me start the music. Yell.
Hello?
Yes, blessed.
Yeah, Muta.
Yes, sir.
Yes, so I want to ask a very important.
No, you have to talk better than the thing they're doing now.
Let me see. Give me a second. Yeah, I want to know, how can I get a shama?
A shama?
Yeah, shama. You know that little robe thing that you put over your head.
And shama.
Yeah. I'm going to Nigeria in 2 months' time, and
so why you want a shama for go to Nigeria?
No, for where, man? For where?
All right, tell me what you call shama. Let me see if I the same thing me I talk about.
Is a Rasta brother give me an idea about me that ask him there's something where you normally wear, like there's something where you put over your head and
okay,
like
all right, yeah. Now what me I say, why you want to wear a shama to Nigeria?
Oh, I mean,
for just
a clothing, you know, so we figure that, unique.
All right, I can tell you why you can't get it now. You have quite a couple of ones. You know the brethren name, I don't know if import I said it, but you have some ones that, all right, you see I Nation, you ever hear about I Nation?
No, you know, so Florida, my day.
Oh,
sorry about that.
Which part of Florida you
there? Fort Lauderdale. I went to this place
you have some
reggae
culture. Let's ask the brethren. Ask the brethren. Them have some whole heap of culture shop in them area there, you know. Where you have Rasta one set up one thing. African contracts people. Just ask Rasta in a Rasta way you see in a Fort Lauderdale, which part you can buy a shama. Just ask. Where you going to Nigeria for?
Another important. Hello?
Where you going to Nigeria for?
2 things. One, I've been preaching upon years now that I, need to experience Africa, and it's a spiritual journey.
Okay.
First and foremost, I haven't gotten the visa yet, but next week Monday I'm supposed to get my visa interview. And I already know that I'm going to get it. No doubt about that.
Yeah, them Nigerian about the fret about the visa thing.
To make a wonderful woman.
I know. I
always declare that I was going to marry
I tell you. I know so I don't reach it, so believe you me, I tell myself, I bet you like a nice little lady I want him come along there. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, it's a nice African woman. We've been communicating steadily now for the past month and a half.
Wow. I should win you that place can travel thousands of miles to go look for her. Should win your heart so much now that you have to travel thousands of miles.
Yeah. Worth it, right?
Of course, what you mean? Of course. But your heart, man. Well, we give thanks to hear that still, you know? So how long you going to stay down there? How long you going to stay?
Roughly 2 weeks. The journey is supposed to be 15 days, but what happened is it will take me 2 days to get in Nigeria. I go London Heathrow airport, then after London Heathrow airport, I have to go Morocco.
Really take you 2 days you usually the flight left in the night, and you reach London in the early morning, and then you catch a flight in the afternoon and reach in the evening again. So,
Alright. So, I never experienced nothing like this before.
Oh, you never traveled so far yet?
Over London.
So, you have London visa?
No, man, I'm an American citizen.
Okay.
So, but I wonder what me that do in other situation that when I have to wait for about 13 hours before the next flight.
Before the next flight?
I'm pay that. Yeah, I'm pay that and something there.
No, worry about them something, man. No worry about that, man. Now we are talking about beard, Rasta. You never beard, every day you beard, man. Now we are talking about. Look here. It's a simple thing, you know. The flight is so long. From where you then know to up there, so it's about 9 hours going to take you to reach England. And you go stand at the airport and wait for the next flight, because usually them flight there, if it left a certain hours, it could have reached there at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning. And then the next flight left till 10 o'clock in the morning again.
So if you go and wait at the terminal where I'm supposed to
No, they don't have to wait at the terminal, man.
Alright.
I mean, like what you say, you're American, still you can't come out of the airport and go walk around and come back.
No, me don't really want to claim American, you know.
No, but you're not. No, me know, but it's a privilege. You can't do certain things where you can't if you're not American. But is it Heathrow and Gatwick Airport? It's like a city in itself, so you don't really need to come out. Trust me. By the time you don't walk up and down in that airport, you're tired, you want to sleep again.
All right. What about Morocco? Is it possible for me to get myself around the airport? Because I know the Morocco speak French.
You are landing in Morocco too?
Arabic.
You're landing in Morocco?
Yeah. At the Morocco.
How long you go there in Morocco?
Airline.
How long you go there in Morocco?
About 5 hours, I think.
5 hours.
If I'm not mistaken,
Morocco now a French and Arab, you know, French and Arab thing. Yes, Morocco usually you land Casablanca. You go there.
I think so. Yeah, at
Casablanca. Yeah. So 5 hours at the airport. I spend 5 hours at the airport already still. Yeah, you can't come out and go look, man. What you mean?
All right.
Make sure you say at the airport. Back door.
Yesterday, I do a lot of research and I find out that the place where I stay is like 3 hours away from some of the nice places.
You mean in Nigeria?
Nice attraction.
In Nigeria?
Yeah.
Which part of Nigeria you go? Lagos? Which part of Nigeria you
go? A place called Eid.
Me no hear you.
3 hours away from Lagos. That's the name of the city.
Drive? The drive is 3 hours?
Yeah.
They're not no long, man. You drive from Los Angeles. You drive from Los Angeles to San Francisco 8 hours. That you drive, you know.
So, question: I can actually drive there if I have my license.
If you have your license, not that if you have your license. If you can direct yourself to go there. If you can direct yourself to go there, it's 3 hours. 3 hours, what them say? 3 hours drive?
Roughly 3 hour drive from the airport.
Yeah, man, you can drive at 10, 20, 12, 15 hours too. You drive from some Cape Town to them, they have 14 hours to Johannesburg.
If I use a cell phone for GPS, it's possible for navigate myself around, or
I don't know what the GPS don't listen. I don't know.
That's the only thing
find out that you know. You have to call the embassy and make them tell you them thing there. Because I don't really know about GPS and them something. Because I know sometimes I go there, somebody just come for me and I just drive. And we drive more than 3 hours already.
You ever visit the Zuma Rock in Nigeria yet?
The Zuma Rock?
Yeah.
Which part of the Yoruba people them there?
Important monument down there.
I think it's which part of the Yoruba people them there. I don't know what the name was. Okay. There's this big rock where the Yoruba in the heart of the Yoruba country.
Yeah.
Yeah, man, we're going on, man.
Okay. One last important question. Last week I was listening to Cutting Edge on YouTube. I'm glad you brought up the whole idea of people being associated and affiliated with Africa, especially black people. One of the things I did a research on was the origin of the name Africa, and I was kind of feeling upset about this because I'm still confused about the origin, because there was, in the research I found out that there was a man called Scipio Africanus. And they're saying that, he defeated Hannibal, and as a result, they end up deriving the name from this Roman man. So I'm saying, no, if that's the case, why are we in commemoration of this man from Europe using that part of his name to apply to ourselves? It kind of make me feel disheartened, and we just have to ask that question. Last question.
Look, I tell you something now. You see the word Ethiopia? It's not the African word, that, you know.
I know that.
Greece it come from. What I say now is that there's a name that we who know what I say, we call it Al-Kabulan. You ever heard that word before?
Yeah, man. I look up Al Kebelan, but I'm still not really sure.
So if you feel uncomfortable if you say Africa, say Al Kabolan. If you feel uncomfortable if you say Africa, say Al Kabolan. Just like anytime I feel uncomfortable if you say call a country South Africa. I say Azania. And if you feel uncomfortable if you say Egypt, you say Kemet.
Kemet, yeah, man. I usually use Kemet.
Yeah, well, is that no? If you feel uncomfortable if you say Africa, don't say Al Kabolan.
Okay,
yes.
okay.
All right
then.
Yeah, man,
yeah, man, respect.
Yeah, Virgin, like that. The Virgin said, why? Him never go there, but him left him art gone in Nigeria. If you follow him art. Follow your art, yes, Virgin, what you mean? Made up of sisters from Cameroon. You know, say me do a tune with them that years ago, and I don't know. The producer got Japan go live and have the tune over there. I got Japan go look for me with a machete, you know. Yeah, serious thing. Because I like to make the tune them do that, you know. Zap Mama, them did do some serious touring one time, you know. You know, some of them carry a machete. I carry a big Jamaican telephone book. Yeah. Because, you know, the machete beating look too gruesome, you know. When I start beating with the telephone book, I ask where the tune they were do much years now. You know what I mean? Clap about it, cross the jaw, all the way there. Yeah, you know. Maybe I understand. You know who did the party tune to? You Masikela, you know. You Masikela did blow up on the song too. Remember the studio going on New York to do the tune, man. You Masikela did the party tune. And them sister here, Zap Mama. And the man said, yeah, I'm going to release a tune for this one big album for Heartbeat label. And the man take the tune and go to Japan. And we say, where you live now? He say, I'm in Japan, Mutabaruka. When you coming this way? I said, come this way, you blow that skirt with the tune. Both come this way. What you talking about come this way? The man go on the tune when I come in this way. Eh? Yeah, you know what I mean? Anyway, I said go. Matrix in the house, man. May I tell you, Matrix? May I read the little things them on the Instagram thing there. You know, ramp low. Up here, I have those Matrix right for the Instagram thing. I tell people whatever this or that. No, anyway, boy, the Instagram thing they not easy to do, you know. No, me I tell you, Rasta. Me see some things for that, there's something like that. Me I say, wait. Them people actually sit down and spend time. Yes, man. For take picture of themselves 50 different ways. But man, make it up, to craft it up. Yeah, and some of them now get it's more than like 50. But them call it like. Why am I not doing it for the like though? No, serious, not doing it for the like. It show me how the youth them mind state rigid. Yeah, because you know me notice. Me test it all the while. You see, I put something serious on it. It hardly get. This way, put on some little frivolous thing. Oh gosh, man, all 1,000. The most serious thing me do. Voila. But you know the thing when me realize though, to be fair with it, you see, anytime I put something on me do on the stepping razor, like that, you got with the bulb on them. Wait, want to the bulb? What? You know, buy the bulb them. Me have a portion of them in the car when we just get it out. What do you mean now? We just get a new stock. How much you want? 100, a dozen? Tomorrow you got a dog come sit on. How much you want? How much you want? 5 of the bulb. Okay. No, me I tell you, them go quick, you know, that I day me get something on. Me I tell people, say me have them, and by the time I go up to that, my lady just sell out them. So we have a portion then now still, so entire ready. And anybody who ready now can get it. Just come along highway and get it. No. Wait. You want to put it up? Me not put up the stall out time. No, me don't want you to run the stall for a gate out for me. What you talking about? You got to do stall for yourself. No, you want to know. People of Jamaica, I'm going to tell you about this Matrix, this DJ as well now. Last week, I'm not going to say it tomorrow again. Because we never, the people in long areas so have a very strange menu flavor. Because I see what she name that eat lollipop or orange juice. I say she has suck a lollipop and drink that. I say, what? Bring some orange juice out. A lollipop and orange juice I eat for your lunch. I said, no, serious thing. No, last week me come in and say, Matrix with boom and peer. We never know say boom and peer can go together to rotting. How can somebody boom and peer, Rasta? No. Who do not easy no guy though? Matrix are boom and peer. No, oh you come put the two of them together. Oh, you put boom and peer together. We can't understand it. We can't understand it, Rasta. Anyway. Oh, the strange long hair. Trust me. Trust me, I see people that eat bread and orange juice for lunch. Bread and orange juice, you know, Rasta. Not even little butter upon the bread, you know. Bread and orange juice. Why it make everything look bad. Yeah, like you don't get no money long at all. Because somebody have boom and peer. Bull and peer. Or if you have peer, you have to have some form of carbohydrate with it. So you have bull and peer, or bread and peer. But bread and boom, no, sir, serious weapons of mass destruction. You better don't make Trump know you had that blouse and skirt and you never enter America. Gone, we're gone, you know. Gone.